Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Happily Never After show. I'm your host, Kate Mollison, and I'm here with a very special guest today, Elizabeth Plancon. Did I say that correctly? I apologize.
No, that's okay. No one says it right, but it's Planson.
Planson. Totally botched that. My apologies.
No worries.
Elizabeth Planson is here with us. Elizabeth, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and what we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm Elizabeth Planson, and I am a intuitive guide. I am a certified manifestation and mindset coach, and also an energy healer. And so I really specialize in helping soulpreneurs step into their purpose, step into their power, and other people just really create a life of their dreams through mindset, spirituality, manifestation. And I have two kids, two young girls. I live in the Midwest in Chicago area with my husband of 14 years. And I'm excited to talk about spirituality and loss today and how it's really helped me heal through losses I've endured.
Yeah, yeah. So even though, the majority of the listeners out there is someone who's experienced the loss of a spouse, be
Yes.
it death or divorce or however, you have that marriage experience where you can relate not only in a professional sense, but in that personal sense. And I so appreciate that about you because I find a lot of the times in doing the widow work, it's hard to find people with similar experiences who can
Yeah.
speak that language. Grief is a very nuanced language, and I feel like you're jack of all trades, master of few. So it's nice to connect with someone who gets it on a spiritual level, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's really important, like for alchemy purpose, that solopreneur focus that you have is really where my light bulb went off when we connected, and it
Mm.
was an alchemy perspective, right? For non-business owners, or maybe it is a business that they start, but something is that catalyst for them. And how do they find that purpose and alchemize it? Where do you come into play in that echelon?
Yeah, so I really, my purpose in my business has evolved over the years since I've started to have this pull towards helping people in some way. And it did start off with just, I wanted to help everybody and help everyone with their mindset and manifestation and learn how to create their lives. But I realized I have a bigger purpose of helping those who are here to help others as well, like to make this bigger impact. And so maybe you're not an entrepreneur, but you still feel like you have this big purpose on your heart that you are here to help others in some way. And that's kind of where I come in, where I help activate that within you and, give you the courage and unleash your potential to fulfilling this
Mm.
greater purpose that you have in your life that maybe did not come about until some things have happened in your life to have that shown to you.
I love that. You use the word activate. And I think that is such an important word to touch on because it really is a conscious flipping of the switch, right?
Yeah.
With processing grief, with alchemizing and that purpose that you find, like maybe you know what it is, but you don't know how to get there. So how do you help people tap inward and be, reflective and start their spiritual journey that way?
So there's definitely a few different things that we work on. So I have a thing where we call it light language, where it is kind of like an intergalactic knowing and being language that is my soul knows it. And so through that, I'm able to activate people with my light language activations, and it basically is waking up this potential within them and shifting their frequency and their vibration and allowing them to move into this greater purpose that they have and kind of starting the ball rolling, the momentum going. And, it also stirs this energy within them to start
Mm.
seeing where their life possibly can go in a new direction. And so I think it's really important to also to study intuition and how to connect to a higher power, whatever that is that you believe in, whether it is source, God, spirit, universe. For me, I kind of resonate with all of them. I believe they're all in one, but that's just my belief, of course. But, just believing in that higher power that you are divinely supported and guided through this life, that you're not alone, And then that will allow you to tap into your intuition and listen to the guidance and listen to, those ideas that come into your mind, and, to trust yourself that these things that you're thinking about or wanting to do are for a reason. They're not by
Mm,
accident. They're coming to you because you are meant to fulfill this, beautiful purpose, or serve in some way, or help others in some way.
I love that. Yeah, you really lay out a beautiful step by step on how to grow your intuition. I think that helps the people who may find the word spirituality a little woo woo, because that's some of the pushback that I get when I talk to people about tapping into, the greater spiritual, experience that's happening in their grief. And do you find that you get that pushback as well?
Most of the people that come into my life are ready for spirituality. Like, it kind of,
Mm.
comes into your life, and you keep seeing things about it when you are ready to be open to it and to explore and expand your awareness,
Uh,
and so it doesn't, I don't have that much of a push off from people because of the fact that I don't attract those type of people to me, because they're not ready for me. They don't have that awareness, to be accepting of what I have to share with them. And so when you start to feel this like tug or nudge of wanting to expand your consciousness and your awareness and create, be open to more ideas than just everything
mm.
you've been taught growing up or what society tells you and
Which
teaches
is
you.
so hard to like push back against and question, and
Yeah,
generations of indoctrination that we are now questioning. It is
correct.
wild, right? Oh my
Right.
gosh.
But it's so freeing. It's so freeing when you allow yourself to explore. But again, it will come to you when you're ready. So if you're, listening to this and you're just like, this is totally not for me, I totally don't resonate with it, that's okay. There's no wrong or right in what your beliefs are. And there's no right time or wrong time, or, whatever it is, that it's okay. That there's nothing wrong with you. It's just, that's just not where you're at in your awareness. And so but even if you're still listening to this, that's almost like a key, like, like, I truly believe that things come into our environment in our lives, when we see them, hear them, or whatever, when we're ready to start exploring whatever that
Very much
is.
so. I agree. It's that universal opening of a door, if you will. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
why swim against the current if the same thing keeps coming up and into your awareness and into your consciousness? And that's kind of how it happened for me, right? I was brought up strict Catholic, and
Mhm.
we went to church and confession and did all the due diligence, and then I'd kind of questioned my faith and just stopped doing it out of compliance when all the elders passed away and there was no longer that compliance piece. And then my 20s were without religion, or
Yep.
without, in abdication, in defiance of. And then
Hmm.
my husband died, and I literally was flailing. It's like falling in a dark tunnel, and you're just grasping at anything and to rationalize what happens, right? And for some people, they catch that branch and it is religion. For me, it happened to be spiritual energy. For
Right.
other people, it is still nothing. So I love that you just create this space and acceptance and awareness of how different the word spirituality can be manifested, and you do get what you call in. You do get what you put out.
Right. And there, like I said before, there's no like one path to spirituality. Everyone's spiritual path is their own journey. And so it can mean different things for everybody, and different beliefs. And so again, whatever you believe to be true is your truth, and that's beautiful. Right. We're not
Mm,
here, to tell you this is what you should believe, and this is the all be, and this is the right way. I can tell you what I believe and what resonates with me and what has helped me, through these past few years, that has transformed my life completely into something that I feel is much better and more free and joyous, and you take what we always say, you take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't.
mm. A fan favorite. Yes, I love that phrase. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. You
Yeah.
know, I love that. So, how do you really dig in with people and get them to start tapping into that potential. Once we've realized we can alchemize grief and our experiences, and we've had that vision, that dream of where we want to go now that we can alchemize it, how do we start?
Yeah. So for me with my clients, we first right off the bat look at limiting beliefs. Like what are these limiting beliefs that have been ingrained in you from, childhood, from society, from your spouse, your friends, wherever it comes from. What are these limiting beliefs that you currently have that are holding you back from living your best life, essentially, right?
Mm,
We have to create that awareness about like where you're currently at so we can really cultivate that and alchemize, like you said, and transform it into where do you want to go, right? So we look at where you're at and then we decide where is it that you want to go. And what I find a lot too is with clients is they have not allowed themselves to dream big, right? We kind of have this, this mentality like, okay, well, money doesn't fall out of the sky, or, you'll have that your, parent in your background. Oh, that's a nice dream,
you
but
don't
let's
need
be
that.
realistic here. Yeah, you don't need that kind of thing. And so we kind of take off all the limitations. Like there is no limit to what you can
Interesting.
achieve in this life. So we remove the limitations and allow my clients to start dreaming again and ask them to, say if there was nothing stopping you from achieving anything in this world that you wanted to achieve, what would that look like? And then we
Hmm.
start creating the new belief and the new identity of who they need to become in order for that to happen. But the beautiful thing is that version of this new identity, this person that you have to become to be able to achieve those dreams, has always
Hmm.
been there. You're just
Hmm.
becoming aware of them now because you're ready to. And then so we help you step into that next level version of yourself so you can start taking action towards, this your dreams, your goals, your new life, whatever you want it to look like.
I love this. It's a couple things popcorning in my brain as you're talking. I'm following along and like so excited to say, like, for me, it brought to my consciousness, it's like a video game, right? Achievement unlocked. So you go to all these
Yes.
different levels, and you are the player guide, the cheat codes, and so
Yeah.
you help people find those little side quests and all those little paths that create real full character development for a good whole story arc and gameplay. You are a video game cheat code book.
Yeah.
The
I
nerd
love
in me
that.
got a little excited. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's great.
But also it's just this really cool awareness that you have and that you bring to people and how you work with people, because grief is such a wild experience. Spousal loss is such a wild experience, and you get that money filter that you're talking about removing, and that self-limiting belief of, I went through, who am I if I'm not Mrs.
Right.
Mollison? So how do
Yes.
we remove that, and who am I and what do I like? And no, I actually don't like ketchup on my, scrambled eggs or whatever it was. Like those self-discovery moments were so critical to my healing and to my process. And to be able to take that, for me, reverse engineer it, be able to take that and apply
Yeah.
it to like, oh, non-grievers could use this stuff too. It just blew my mind.
100%. And I love how you're like, who am I if I'm not, this wife, right? And I think of many of us, whether we've had loss or not, even, me and my marriage is I'm a mother and a wife, and just really spirituality has allowed me to actually find out who I really am. Like, and I was, this worker, like right out of college, I went and worked for my mom and I was just,
Mm.
it was her employee. Like, this allowed me to really find who I am, what I desire, what I want out of life, and it allowed me to be selfish for a little bit here. And there's nothing wrong with, like putting yourself first in your spiritual journey, your spiritual path. Because at the end of the day, this is your journey and you're
Mm.
not in charge of anyone else's path or journey. You are in charge of your own. And so by realizing that and knowing that, it makes you accountable for your perceptions, who you are and how you want to show up in this world. And so I love that how, finding that identity and you can do that at any point in time in your life. And then you can become a different version of yourself really anytime you want as well.
Oh my gosh, totally. It's so funny. A good friend of mine yesterday said, think about Shakespeare. All the world's a stage. We are just actors. And if this version of you isn't fulfilling you, start playing a new character. You
Yeah.
can very clearly just become a new character and become so unrecognizable if you want, because you're evolving into this different energy, this different spiritual belief system, this different self awareness and self efficacy, your own belief in your ability to do. It's very powerful stuff. Um, and it is very common in the widowhood community. You know, we cut our hair, get tattoos, pierce our noses, jump out of airplanes, all of that.
Yeah.
It's a money layer and it's a trauma layer. And so I think there's an interesting dissection here as we talk about that spiritual evolution. And I'm curious for anybody out there listening, what that overlap is. Do you think that there's an increase in spiritual awareness once you've experienced a loss? Do you think that that veil, if you will, is thinner because you're closer to it and you now are receptive to it? And like, I'm curious if there's an uptick in that. Um,
Yeah, I think really too, loss just gives you the chance to look at life differently, right? Completely differently. And in the beginning, of course, it's very difficult. You know, there's a lot of anger and why is this happening to me? And the
mm,
victimhood and everything like that, and rightfully so. If you could get past that and alchemize it into the point of where you are then now stepping into this power of being able to shift these situations that happen to you, that you believe that these happen to you, and asking yourself the biggest question of all is, why is this happening for me? Right?
mm.
That's a big
Which is so
question.
hard to do,
Yes, a
so
hundred
hard to ask that question.
100%. But doing that will change your life in any situation, not just, the passing of your spouse,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, no, good point.
In any situation that is a difficult situation or brings challenges to your life or conflict or contrast. So
A
often we are
crossroads, if you will.
right. So often we're like, why is this happening to me? And we often people will turn to God. God, why are you doing this to me? But rather
Mm,
asking, why are you doing this for me? What is this trying to teach me here? What is this experience trying to help me grow and expand and become a better version of myself or the higher version of myself, a different version? And what am I going to take away from this in order to help others in this world? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
like really being able to help others with your experience, transmute what they've been through. That could be just one result of this, right? And as
yeah.
you know clearly from your work.
And I think it's important to note for people that you can have the grand vision and feel your divine purpose and not be ready to pursue it because you haven't done the healing, right? The healing and the capacity to be introspective and reflective and maybe not perfecting at that self view, but certainly more awareness, I think is an important and crucial step in that alchemization. What are your thoughts on that?
What comes to mind as you were saying this is not being ready is understanding that healing comes in many layers, right? And for example, in my father's passing, which happened almost 8 years ago now,
Mm,
I felt like I had like worked on that so many times, like healed it so many times. And just this past April, I did more
mm,
healing on it because, I'm like, oh, I was at a retreat and we were doing an exercise and the question was, who are you angry at? Who are you
ooh,
upset at? And I was like, I'm not angry at anybody. Like, I'm good. And then I just, we were told just allow yourself to free write. And I started writing and it started coming out. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I have healed this so many different times and so many different levels. But with the level that came through for me, which some of your listeners may not know what this is, was I had never done inner child healing surrounding this. And so an inner
oh,
child is like, your 7-year-old self before your mind starts being, really taking on things in your subconscious mind and this little person inside of you that wants to feel safe, right?
mm,
And so this was something I had not done surrounding the passing of my father. And so that was another layer that I had uncovered that I needed to do yet. And maybe hopefully now fully healed, right? But my point is, there are so many layers to healing that you may never feel ready, right? But there's a point where it takes courage and we push past the fear, and having that faith that if you do feel called to a higher purpose, having the faith that it came to you for a reason, and pushing past the fear, right? We say faith over
Mm.
fear, breaking through that terror. And of course, it's going to be scary because you've never done it before.
Oh,
So anything
totally
that
scary. You're
you're
speaking my love language.
right, like anything you're facing new here, which many, as your listeners probably are in this point in their lives, if they're, a newly widow or widower, it's new. You don't know how to unravel it, like to deal with that, right? And so of course it's scary as hell, but you are stronger than you realize, and you can push through that through faith. And this can be faith, like, and like I said, in any higher power. For me, that's what helps me.
Faith, however it resonates with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that that's such a powerful message, and like what an important sound bite. I just want to put that as a sound machine sound option for all of the widowers who are insomniacs at night. We need that sleep hypnosis sometimes to remind us that we're worthy, we're capable, we're not broken, we're not incapacitated, that it sucks that we have to pick up the other half of that relationship and carry forward, but there's purpose in doing it. And so many times I asked myself, like, what the hell am I supposed to do now? And
Yeah.
now, as I look back on the situation, like you said, the question has shifted, like, wow, what did I learn from that? Like,
Yeah.
where did that take me? Why did that happen? And I've found answers to a couple of those things, but there will be ones that I'll never have those answers, and just understand that there's a reason that that happens, and I hate the platitude. Everything happens for a reason. But as we're talking about things coming back to us repeatedly, that phrase was engraved in my wedding bands.
Yeah. Oh my
Everything
gosh.
happens for a reason was engraved in our wedding band. So
And that's
it
how
really
I
does.
always
And it is a principle in which we lived our marriage by. And so I have to live my life in widowhood that way too, and for the people out there,
yeah.
everything happens for a reason.
I
I
and
hate that
we
phrase.
you made I know, and it can be a very maddening phrase for those of you who are going through the thick of the grief, right? It could be very frustrating. But understanding that, it is what it is another phrase that a lot of people hate too, right? But when we don't
Uh-huh.
put meaning to everything in our lives, and we come from this place of neutrality, when you eventually can get there, and like you said, you reflect, how far have I come now from that point in my life? And you may never know in this human life, in this awareness, why these things have happened for you. But in reflection, whatever you believe happens to you in your afterlife, whether you go to heaven or believe in multiple lives, or there's nothing,
Hmm.
whatever it is, that's when the reflection, I believe, happens, where you can see, okay, now I
Mm.
understand why all these things happened for me, because this is how I grew, this is how I expanded. And I know we had this conversation earlier, but this is what I truly believe and has gotten me through this grief that I have, endured with the loss of my father, for example, is, that we are a spiritual being having a human experience. And before
Mm.
we incarnate in this current lifetime, or this human life that we're currently living, that you see right now, is we decide as a spiritual being, what do we want to experience in this life? What do we want to go through? How do we want to grow? And so life will create these situations in order for us to achieve those things that we decide we want to experience and grow. And so that saying, everything happens for a reason, really ties to that and makes it not so frustrating, I
I
feel.
love that. I love that. Like, I think that's really important, again, to lay out that it's not the platitude. It really does. There's teachable moments in everything. And if we just have a little gratitude versus attitude, which is something I say to my 15-year-old all the time, I'm like, can we do this with gratitude, not attitude?
Love it.
But
We'll
if we
remember
do
that.
practice what our preaching a little bit, right? We do that for ourselves in the things we've done, in the experiences we've gone through. The hardest day you've ever had, you survived.
Yes.
Sometimes just looking at those experiences and having appreciation for coming out on the other side. gives perspective, which allows you to tap into that spirituality, right?
Right. Exactly.
Well, we are just about at the end of our time together. I do want to give you an opportunity to tell the listeners how to find you, where to get started if they're interested in their own spiritual journey. Where can we find you, and what do you got going on?
Yeah, so pretty much you can go to my website, which is my name, elizabethplancon.com. It's PLANCON.com. I'm on all social media platforms as well, just under my name. And I co-wrote a book called Manifesting with Purpose, and it is a wonderful book to kind of help introduce you to how you can create your experience in this world. And we do talk about
Ooh.
things like faith and challenges and positive mindset and positive thinking and self-image and all those kinds of things that could really help shift your perspective on the difficult times in your life and alchemize working through those, right? And so I have that we offer, and then I also do offer one-on-one coaching and single sessions and different courses on spirituality as well. So all those kinds of things are available to my clients and how I help them, and even just channeling message from spirit. I'm also an intuitive, so which means I'm psychic. I'm an open channel, and I do readings as well, where I channel information for people too.
You do it all. You are soup to nuts. We love it. Send me over the link to your book, and I will make sure I pin that on my website. So for anyone interested, they can just go right to the link and easily get a copy of that book from you. I'd love to do that for them as well. Elizabeth, it has been phenomenal getting to know you and getting to chat with you about this. If you could give the listeners one piece of advice, what would you say to them?
Oh, if I could give them one piece of advice, I really do want to, I guess going back to that choosing faith over fear and really trusting in yourself and your ability to conquer anything and to get through anything, because you are supported, you are divinely guided in this universe, and there's light all around you and there's light within you. It's just waiting for you to find it again, and it will always be there for when you are ready to.
So beautiful. I love that. What great advice. All right. I want to thank everyone out there who has been listening with us for season 1. We will be back for season 2 after a short hiatus. So thank you, everyone. And we will see you next time on the Happily Never After show.
You've been listening to Happily Never After, part of the Xvadio Podcast Network. You can catch every episode of Happily Never After, as well as the rest of the network, at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts.